The western sun bled crimson across the skyline of Crossfire City, painting every brick and wooden beam in the color of old wounds. Once a mining camp, the town had grown into a bustling crossroads for gamblers, gunslingers, and those who preferred their law written on the muzzle of a Colt. But beneath the clatter of saloon pianos and the rattle of stagecoaches, tension lay like a coiled rattlesnake. Sheriff Elias Kane felt it in the soles of his boots as he walked the boardwalk. 10 years of wearing the star had trained his senses. How the chatter died when he entered the Rusty Lantern Saloon. How eyes followed him with the quiet malice of wolves. Crossfire City wasn't merely a name. It was a prophecy. Rival gangs, the Red Vultures and the Brass Spurs, were ready to turn the streets into a shooting gallery. Elias had kept a fragile peace for months, but the fuse burned short. That evening, a figure stepped off the late coach from El Paso. The crowd barely noticed at first. A woman in a travel-worn duster, hat brim low, a single leather case slung across her shoulder. But Elias recognized her the moment she lifted her head. Clara Holt. 5 years ago she'd ridden out of town with a bounty on her head and a pistol in her belt, leaving behind a trail of rumors and one broken sheriff. Now she was back, eyes hard as flint, lips set in a line that held secrets and maybe regret. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, voice low, carrying the faint lilt of the New Mexico desert. "Maybe I have," Elias replied. "Why'd you come back, Clara?" "To finish what I started." Before Elias could press, a gunshot cracked down the street, then another. Screams followed, boots thundering on wood. The night erupted. The Red Vultures had struck first, spilling from the alleys like shadows with teeth. Brass Spurs returned fire from the balconies of the Silver Ace Hotel. In seconds, Crossfire City turned into a war zone, bullets sparking against lampposts, windows shattering, the sharp smell of gunpowder mixing with the copper tang of blood. Elias dove behind a trough, Clara at his side. She drew a revolver, so smooth it seemed part of her hand. "You still shoot?" he asked. "Straighter than you remember." Together they moved, cover to cover, calling warnings to cowering townsfolk, forcing the gangs toward the central square. The old church bell tolled wildly as stray round struck it, the clang echoing like judgment. When the dust cleared for a heartbeat, Elias saw the ringleaders. Dukemar, scarred down his jaw, leader of the Red Vultures, and Silas Brass Monroe, all gold teeth and black eyes. They shouted over the chaos, each claiming the city, each daring the other to die first. Night deepened. Bodies lay where they'd fallen, but neither gang yielded. Elias barricaded the townsfolk in the courthouse, his badge feeling heavier by the minute. Clara helped tend the wounded, her steady hands betraying none of the turmoil in her eyes. "You left without a word," he said finally. "You wanted a homestead," she replied. "I wanted a war. Now it's found us both." She revealed her reason for returning. Dukemar had once been her partner in crime. Years back, he'd betrayed her during a train heist, leaving her for dead and taking the gold. Word reached her that Duke planned to seize Crossfire City as his personal empire. Clara wanted justice, her kind of justice. Elias wrestled with the truth. Duty demanded he arrest her for past crimes. His heart, still bound to memories of moonlit dances and whispered promises, demanded something else. "Help me end this," he said. "Then we settle the rest." At dawn they struck a dangerous bargain with Silas Monroe. The Brass Spurs would lay down arms if Elias guaranteed them safe passage out of the territory. Silas agreed, on one condition: Dukemar must die. Elias hated it. A sheriff making deals with outlaws was a stain he'd never wash clean. But the alternative was a bloodbath. Clara, however, had no qualms. "Duke owes me a debt," she said, eyes gleaming like cold steel. "I'll collect." They set the trap at the abandoned rail depot on the edge of town, where the shadows of rusted trains stretched long like skeletal fingers. Elias positioned marksmen from the remaining town guard. Clara moved unseen, a phantom among the freight cars. When Duke arrived with his Red Vultures, the ambush began, rifle cracks echoing off iron walls. Clara emerged from the smoke, her revolver aimed steady. "Remember Santa Fe, Duke?" she called. His grin faltered. "Thought you were dead." Almost, she said and fired. But Duke was faster than legend claimed. He rolled, returning fire. Sparks flew as bullets kissed steel. The depot became a thunderous maze of ricochets and shouted orders. Elias charged in, desperate to end it before more lives were lost. He found Clara cornered behind a crate, bleeding from a graze on her arm. Duke advanced, eyes wild. 2 ghosts in one night. Duke sneered. Sheriff, you still chasing lost women? Elias leveled his rifle. Drop it, Duke. It ends here. Duke laughed and swung his pistol toward Clara. The world narrowed to a heartbeat. Elias fired. The shot struck true. Duke staggered, disbelief frozen on his face, and collapsed into the dust. The red vultures scattered like leaves in a storm. Morning sunlight revealed a city scarred but breathing. The townsfolk emerged, weary yet alive. Silas Monroe kept his word, leading the brass spurs out under the sheriff's watchful eye. Crossfire City had survived. On the edge of town, Clara prepared to ride again. A fresh bandage wrapped her arm. Her eyes held both gratitude and the restless hunger of the frontier. You could stay, Elias said quietly. You'd arrest me, she replied with a wry smile. Maybe, maybe not. She studied him, the years between them heavy as the desert heat. I came for revenge, she said, but maybe I found something worth more. Elias reached for her hand, rough fingers brushing hers. Then don't ride away. Clara looked toward the endless horizon, where the sun blazed like a promise and a warning. At last she swung into the saddle. Not today, she said, and turned her horse back toward the heart of Crossfire City. The bell in the old church rang once, clear and bright over the silent streets. For the first time in years, it sounded not like a warning, but like hope. Crossfire City would never be the same, but neither would Elias Kane and Clara Holt, bound by a night of smoke and gunfire, where love and justice shared the same bullet.